Hey, it's Diana of Cauldron and Craft. In today's video, I want to talk about Mabon and the Fall Equinox. The word Mabon is the Celtic name of the son of the Mother Earth goddess. It was adopted by Wiccans, though the holiday is an amalgamation of harvest celebrations and myths across the world and throughout history. I'm not Wiccan, but I still enjoy celebrating the Wheel of the Year and the spirituality of each season. By the fall equinox, which this year will be on September 22nd, farmers knew how well their crops did and were beginning to prepare for winter. Harvest festivals were a way to balance the work of preparing for winter. It was also a time of gathering and giving thanks. If you're American and that sounds familiar, you're probably thinking Thanksgiving is in November. Well, American Thanksgiving was originally celebrated on October 3rd, which falls right in line with the harvest season. Abraham Lincoln moved American Thanksgiving to November, though Canadians still celebrate it in October. It was brought over by the colonizers from the celebration the British have called Harvest Home, which is now called Harvest Festival, and that's celebrated around the full moon closest to the equinox, something like that. The Germans had and still have Oktoberfest. This time of year is more than just festivals and parties, however. It's an important time spiritually as well. In Judaism, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are times of reflection and spiritual enrichment. It's also evident in the myths surrounding this time of year that our ancestors recognized the dying back of the land as necessary, while also praying for their chosen deity to return and bring life back with them. If you're interested in some of these stories, look up the stories of Isis and Osiris and of Persephone and Demeter. The song John Barleycorn is a great example of how our ancestors viewed the harvest as a time of death for the land. Astronomically, the equinox is a time of equal light and dark if you live in the middle latitudes between the pole and the equator. The sun is still strong, but it's waning. Astrologically, it's fitting that it's near the sign of Libra, which is symbolized by scales and balance. This is a great time to do fall cleaning, which I personally like more than spring cleaning, both literally and figuratively. Get rid of the things you no longer want. Release thought patterns and habits that are no longer serving you. What will you be taking into the winter, and what will you leave behind? Tarot is always a great tool for reflection. Make space for gratitude for all you've accomplished so far this year, even if it's just making it to this moment in one piece. As far as Mabon activities, the obvious ones are going to be pumpkin patch or apple picking. There are also many fall festivals to choose from. If you had a garden, now is a good time to chop and drop the remnants of the plants, so cutting down all of the upper leaves and stems and just letting it fall right on the ground over the roots. You can look at this activity as a sacrifice you're making back to the land to nourish the soil. Specifically, you're nourishing the insects and soil bacteria, which will feed your plants next spring. Now is a good time to plant bulbs, including garlic, and seeds that require and benefit from cold stratification. Unless you live in an extremely cold climate, basically any perennial can be sown in fall or winter for a hardier plant come spring. If you think about it, plants that are dying back now are releasing their seeds. So for example, I have dill that's out there seeding right now. So those seeds fall to the ground and they go through the winter, which they're a cooler weather crop anyway, and they'll grow back stronger. They'll sprout at their correct time in the spring, rather than me trying to sow it indoors and trying to figure out when I'm going to put them outside. And the plants will be hardier because they had that time outside throughout the winter, as they're supposed to have, as their natural life cycle dictates. You can have a picnic with friends to enjoy the cooler weather. I've done that before for Mabon. While you're outside, observe the subtle shifts that indicate summer is ending. On my walks this past week, I could smell the difference in the air. Use this as a meditative practice of being present and in the moment. Lastly, a really great activity for this time of year is to learn how to preserve something. Our ancestors would need to process their harvest so it would actually last the winter. And if you grew up in a rural area, you'll probably have memories of large-scale preservation like canning. That would have been like a family activity. With the current economic uncertainty, it never hurts to learn a new skill. Take advantage of the current abundance. There are many options for preservation, like canning, dehydrating, freeze drying, vacuum sealing, combination of those. If you go apple picking, for example, make some applesauce and freeze or can it. Cut apples into rings to dehydrate for a delicious snack that will last for months. As you can see, Mabon really isn't a day, it's a season, and it's separate from the fall equinox. I highly recommend Llewellyn's Sabbath Essentials as an introduction to each Sabbath on the Wheel of the Year, and I used it for some of the research for this video. It had a really good quote that really resonated with me, and I'd like to share it, and it's kind of my motto in everything. Even the most trivial action can become spiritual when performed with intent. I hope you take that with you through your Mabon activities. Let me know in the comments how you'll be celebrating Mabon and the equinox. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to hear in the comments how you're celebrating. See you next time. Bye.